All right, hello and welcome to week 3 of this wonderful, wonderful time that we're having here doing home learning, extended learning, whatever you want to call it. Hopefully, you're all staying inside, you're staying safe, you're getting lots done. Most of you are getting your assignments in, which is fantastic. Again, if you're turning them in during the normal window before they are due, preference is through Aries. If you can't do that, let me know, see if I can help you. Otherwise, email, and if they're late, email, because I believe the window you can't upload once the date has come. So once Friday midnight hits, it locks up. You can't upload anymore, so you're going to have to email it to me. I'll still check you off. I'll still give you the grades, but it's easier if you guys can upload. Check Aries. Some of you I'm making notes on because the files you're sending me I can't open. So hopefully you're double checking, and hopefully those notes that I type into Aries are something you can read. I have no idea what you guys see at your end of the world. So I'm totally guessing there. All right. So last week we did one-step equations. You did equations that had addition or subtraction. Then you did equations that had multiplication and division. Well, this week we're putting them together. Now we're doing 2 steps. And it's real simple. We're going to use last week's skills. You're definitely going to be using a little bit more note paper. If you've been typing your answers, stop, because I need to see work. Okay? So the problems that you're going to be working on here, the basic procedure that you're going to be working with, procedure. Now, you guys aren't around to tell me if I'm spelling things wrong now, so you're going to just have to deal if I do make a mistake. Step 1, you're going to make 0. Okay, and the way that we do that is from last week, we add the inverse of the constant. Okay. Now, remember, our job here is to get that variable to be alone. So I'm talking about the constant that's with the variable. So when we're talking about this, we're talking about an equation that may look like 4x minus 3 equals 5. So when we add the inverse, we're going to make 0 out of the constant. We can draw our line right down the middle as we've been doing. We know that this side is for the variables. We know this side is for the constants. Notice this -3 right here. We have a positive 4x, we have a -3. That's on the wrong side. I need it to be 0. I need to make it sure it can disappear. So the inverse of -3 is +3. Whatever you do to one side, good, you do to the other. And the phrase makes 0 is because that's what we're doing right here. We're turning that -3 and we're making it a 0. I'm left over with the 4x. And on this side, I have a +5 and a +3. It gives me a +8. So that's step 1 every time. Step 2, and I think everything I'm going to be giving you this week is pretty straightforward. We are going to make 1. Notice how they go in order, 0 and then 1. Isn't that convenient? And to do this, we are going to divide by the coefficient. Okay. Coefficient, again, being that number touching the variable, that number right in front of the variable. We left off with 4x equaling 8. And the coefficient is this right here, the 4. We need it to be 1. We need it to turn into a +1 so that we can make it disappear and turn invisible. So what can I do to 4 to turn it into 1? Well, I can divide by 4. 4 divided by 4. I'm going to try to make this again. I don't do this very well all the time. Hey, that wasn't too bad. That's my 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1. I can make this whole thing disappear. We kind of say they cancel each other out, but they don't truly turn to 0. They turn into an invisible 1. But the rule says whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, so we have to be careful of our rules for integers. When we're multiplying, when we're dividing, we have to watch our signs. We have to know exactly what they're doing so that we can end up with the proper answer, obviously. So another example of this, move my paper up a little bit here, would be, let's do negative 7x plus 3 equals, let's see if I put that there, 24. Hopefully I figured that out in advance correctly. All right, so step 1, we're going to make 0. We can draw our line to help us identify this is our variable side. This is our side for our constant. This negative or this positive 3 is in the wrong spot. So I'm going to add the inverse here. So I'm going to put negative 3 and negative 3. So these make 0, leaving me just a negative 7x. These are different signs. We're going to subtract. I get a positive 21. And next step, divide by coefficient. Coefficient is negative 7. You divide by the exact coefficient because we need it again to be positive 1. Negative divided by a negative makes me get a positive 1, so it's just x now. Now on this side though, I have a positive number divided by a negative number. Since they're different signs, we're going to get a negative answer automatically. And we get negative 3. Okay. The only other special case that some of you were okay with last week, I forgot, I noticed afterwards, after I gave the lesson and got halfway through the week that these existed, is those weird problems that look like this. 6 minus x equals 20. And the reason that this is special is because we can see that the coefficient is 6. Or excuse me, oh, bad me. We see that the constant is 6. We see that the variable is right here. When I add the inverse of the constant, these cancel out, leaving me negative x, and this will give me 14, but there's no such thing as a negative variable. Please, please, please remember there's an invisible 1 here if nothing else. So now my coefficient that I have to divide by is a negative 1. Divide by a negative 1. Because now this will give me a positive. Negative divided by a negative is positive. 1 divided by 1 is 1. So here's my 1x, invisible 1. Positive divided by a negative, they're different, so it's negative, and I get a negative 14. Okay, be careful of that one. They put the problems like that on your single-step worksheets. I don't agree. As you can see here, it does take 2 steps to deal with because you have to deal with that negative right there. I don't know why certain worksheets, certain books don't think about that. I always do though, because that's a very common area to screw up. All right, that wraps me up for the week. I'm going to go and put all this on Facebook now. Not Facebook, you guys don't go there. YouTube. I'm going to put it on YouTube. I'm going to find some worksheets to throw up there for you guys for the week. And hopefully all will be great and wonderful and get back to normal someday. All right, you take care. Stay inside. Stay safe.